Beginning with my first guest, friend, and author of the book's foreword, Imran Amed. Imran is CEO and editor-in-chief of the Business of Fashion, the authority on the $2.5 trillion global fashion and luxury industries. Among his many distinctions, in 2017, just 10 years after founding the Business of Fashion, Imran was appointed by Queen Elizabeth II as a member of the Order of the British Empire for services to the fashion industry. In his beautifully written opening remarks, Imran reflects on the central social and commercial role that the shopping center played in his own life growing up in Canada. In it, he writes, "Looking back now, I realized that going to the mall wasn't just about shopping, it was about everything. It was the center of our community, offering entertainment, inspiration, and escape, all in one place." I can't think of a better statement to highlight the degree to which our relationship with not just the shopping center, but retail as a whole has changed in a post-digital and now post-pandemic world, where much of the social value and commercial utility of the mall sits inside our smartphones. I caught up with Imran from his home in London recently to get his perspective on some of the changes he foresees springing from the pandemic and what he believes it all means for the future of fashion and retail. Imran, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
So, and also thank you as well again for penning the foreword to the book and so aptly, I think, capturing the degree to which the shopping center was central to all of our lives really growing up. And I think signifying, as we see today, the extent to which the retail world has really changed and how, and I guess how our lives have changed around it. And on that note, I really wanted to get a sense from you, being at the helm of the Business of Fashion, one of the world's leading publications in the fashion industry. How are you seeing the pandemic change our sense of fashion? If the run-up to the pandemic was about sort of the streetwear taking over the boardroom, what are you seeing now? How is the pandemic impacting that?
You know, it's hard to tell, if I'm honest, Doug, because I think everyone's lives have been so completely altered by this situation that we found ourselves in. And it's still only now are we getting hints of what the future might look like in terms of life. I think probably the biggest thing I've been thinking about is the role of work and the way we work. And, you know, a lot of companies are talking about, hybrid models of working, which will mix remote work from home and sometime in an office. And I think, the best laid plans may go disrupted, shall I say, because I don't think people actually know how that's going to work when you have some people in an office, some people at home. Right now, it all works is we're all at home and we're all on a screen. But if you've ever tried interacting with, some people in a room and some people on a screen, it's it's not smooth. So I think there's still some kinks to work out in terms of how we work. And of course, the reason I bring that up is, how we work will impact how we dress. So, certainly what I can say for sure is people will spend more time in offices than we have done in the last year. I know my team is aching to spend time with each other, particularly on creative projects and, brainstorming and all that kind of stuff that is much more fun and productive when you're together. And I do think, some people and in some of our work, we will work from home and that will impact the way we dress. Mm-hmm. That's one category I've been thinking about. The second category is in the short term, after this is all over, I'm expecting a huge surge in socializing. As we've been so antisocial, socially distanced over the last 12 months or so, when we do go back into the real world, people are going to want to spend time together. I heard yesterday on a call that 30,000 weddings in Germany alone were canceled last year.
Wow.
Most of those weddings this summer will be canceled again, probably, given the way things are looking. So all those people are still going to want to get married. And there's going to be a huge, surge in occasions. So I think there'll be a lot of feeling that people want to get dressed up. People want to express themselves through their clothes. We're also tired of wearing sweatshirts and jeans. And, the ability to use fashion as a way of expressing yourself has really been muted by the pandemic. So that's another thing I've been thinking about. And the third thing I've been thinking about is, this idea that everyone is talking about, the roaring 20s, and like this, return to consumption in the way that we consumed before. And I have had a lot of thought around my own consumption habits, and I'm sure a lot of people have been thinking about that as well. So while the first and second things that I mentioned, will be true, we will go back into a work environment. There will be occasions, but I think there will be, for at least some portion of consumers, a more responsible way for consuming. So the way I've been talking about it is the responsible roaring 20s, because I don't think, in the fashion industry, we've been having this like really, really, deep and interesting conversations around our planet, basically. And I think for a lot of people who've been like, sorting through their closets, throwing things away, they're realizing that a lot of these things that they buy, they just sit in a closet. So that's why I find it really hard to think about what fashion is exactly going to be like, because I think there's a lot of things that are still uncertain, and there's lots of different factors at play. So it's hard to make any kind of firm prediction.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Your last point, just sort of around a more considered level of consumption and the degree to which the pandemic has perhaps given some of us time with ourselves to focus on our own habits, and yet on the other hand, I sort of see some people seemingly, not reflecting on this at all. It's just sort of, more stuff. So do you sort of feel that we might, as we are oftentimes in society, we are sort of left with a divide where we have perhaps a more thoughtful consumer on one side, but on the other, maybe those people who are just sort of fatalistic about it and say, it's YOLO sort of thing.
That's exactly how I think about it. I mean, the way when we were in the office here at BOF, all of the younger team members in my company are really passionate about issues around sustainability. But then I would see all of these packages coming through from Zara and ASOS and all of these fast fashion companies, and there's a bit of a contradiction in terms of the way some consumers are behaving and what they believe their core values are. But I think the gap between our values and our behaviors is starting to close.
One last question for you, Imran. In terms of luxury brands selling online, we know that prior to the pandemic, we saw Alibaba do really a tremendous job in bringing brands onto the Tmall Luxury Pavilion platform. I think there's about 200 luxury brands there now. We also know that during the pandemic, Amazon made a bit of a play. That sort of took a page out of Alibaba's playbook with their luxury proposal to brands that sort of said, you can come on our platform, you can develop your own brand presence, we'll allow you to have your data, the relationship with the customer is yours, all very, very similar to Alibaba's approach. But my question to you is, do you think Amazon will figure out luxury? And I know this has been sort of a burning question in the industry for some time. What's your perspective?
I just don't feel like it's in the DNA of that company. I think there's, Amazon is an incredible service for convenience, for efficiency. They've really optimized everything on their shopping pages to the nth degree. But that's so different from the kind of experience that luxury brands want to associate themselves with. And so in order for, I think, luxury to really embrace Amazon would have to much more, completely understand and embrace the codes and experience that luxury customers expect. And so, yes, we are all used to really fast service, and next day delivery and, the efficiency of Amazon. And I think what's more likely to happen is luxury brands are going to have to step up their own internal logistics, their own service levels, their own last mile abilities in order to kind of live up to the expectations that Amazon has created for all of us in terms of the way we engage with e-commerce. But right now, I haven't, they've been at it for quite a long time. I haven't seen a really strong sign that they've really understood the mindset shift it's going to take to crack the luxury market.
Yeah, you're right. It's such a commodity platform, and it's become, I think, even more so. Over the last decade or so, it's become much more that way. So yeah, I agree, and hopefully, luxury brands. Maybe the pandemic was the wake up call that they all needed to finally say, okay, guys, it's time to put your digital games together. Imran, thank you so much for your perspective as always, and thank you for being part of the event. Just such a pleasure to have you.
It was such an honor to write the foreword for this book. I'm such a huge admirer of all of your thoughts and ideas as they respect to retail. So it was a real honor. So thank you for asking me.
Well, the honor was mine. Thank you very much.
All right.